Okay, now is it working? I'm gonna wait until someone says it's working. This is the problem with using Webinar Jam at the airport. Everything is super slow. Okay, testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay, yay, it's working now. Sorry, I see that a whole bunch of messages came in. So slow. That's the joy of an airport. Okay, so I think that it did record the brand part, but I'll just repeat that part for those of you who are here on the live. And those of you who are listening to the recording, you get to hear it twice. The first thing that are topics for people who have asked questions over the last couple weeks was Brand Registry. And the question was, what the heck is it and do I need it? Yes, thank you. I've got about 10 messages. Thank you so much. So glad that I'm actually audible. And then I also mentioned, since I'm at the airport, there's going to be those messages that say, don't leave your stuff alone on the background. So we'll just try to go from there. So Brand Registry, for those of you who know what it is, if you have a specific question about Brand Registry, just put it into the chat here. Because now that the chat, it may take a second to see it, but I'll see it. Brand Registry, what is it? It's Amazon's response to really the Birkenstock situation. So for those of you who don't know, a few years back, Birkenstock left Amazon because they kept getting knockoffs from people going on Alibaba and buying Birkenstocks and then selling it on Amazon. So it was a really big problem with third-party sellers. There was a apple core and slicer product that I got one time, and they had a big problem with knockoffs because it was cast iron, and a whole bunch of people were selling the cast aluminum knockoff, so it was way cheaper, so they're making a lot of money selling knockoffs. Anyway, a lot of brands were struggling with this, so Amazon created Brand Central, its own thing. I don't know why it wasn't part of the regular Seller Central or whatever, but they made its own thing. And right now, what Brand Central does is it does report a violation. So you can report a violation for copyright and for trademark. And you can do, I forget exactly how you submit it for patent, but it's a whole different process. It's not through Brand Central. And then the other thing you can do is register brands. That's really all that you can do in Brand Central right now. So Brand Registry gets you access to Brand Central. They'll eventually build it out and do other things. But what it also gets you access to is Brand Registry marketing tools, so enhanced content and your storefront, pretty important for marketing purposes, and it gives you editorial control. Now, the only caveat to that I would say is if you were previously a vendor, it's not going to be very helpful for editorial control because the vendor side gets editorial control once they touch it. So that's being fixed. Whenever it gets fixed, it gets fixed. But for now, it still requires follow-up with Amazon whenever you have that problem with prior vendor products. So that's what Brand Registry is. And do you need it? Absolutely. For those folks who have maybe unauthorized sellers, it's one way to get them off. You have to be careful how you do it, but it's one way to get them off. You also need it for all the marketing purposes. So if you don't have a brand on Amazon, it can be pretty hard to use some of the new tools that they're expanding out. So if you guys have any questions about that, pop into the chat. Otherwise, I will go on to product recalls. And there was someone who was asking, what the heck is going on? And you know, I had the product recalls job at Amazon for about 2 years, and every day was different, you know, because it's dependent on who is going to be working with CPSC on that or FDA. You know, you never know exactly what is going to happen and how many are going to be taken out. And then I just want to let you know if I drop off, Christina won't be able to continue until I get back on. So sorry about that if something happens with the internet or my video. So basically, what people are seeing when they're thinking, oh, there's so many recalls, there's a tool where if it's restricted, it'll call itself recall. So it doesn't mean that there's a whole bunch of recalls. Sometimes there really are a whole bunch of recalls. There were some days there were 6 to 10 recalls, and other days there were 1. But actually a lot of it was because restricted products are called recalled. The next question was brand gating. Do I need that and how can I get it? Brand gating is super, super helpful, but it's actually really, really hard to get. In my experience, sorry for the background noise. Give me a second. They do it every 15 minutes. So brand gating is fairly straightforward if you have a big counterfeit problem. So a lot of the big brands are already gated. It's already automated. For those of you who do not have a big brand or do not already have a counterfeit problem, that's actually a good thing not to have a counterfeit problem. So what you want to do is you want to try a different approach for ASIN gating. So try to figure out a way to get safety gated or find some other reason for Amazon to limit exposure there. So safety gating is the approach that we typically take, and it takes anywhere from 2 to 3 months in many cases. But it's a much more effective approach. Often brand gating isn't approved. They don't want to take down whole brands. They want to just deal with the existing issue, and often that's just at an ASIN level. So it can be hard to get brand gated. And then the last thing is Amazon withholding payments. There's not much you can do about that. Often they do it because they're trying to hedge their own bets. Sometimes you can request that it gets paid out. I've seen some things held up to 90 days before, just based on their policies. And then some things that are not based on policy at all, and they're still holding your money. And so then I would definitely complain. Okay, so that was the list that I had from folks who were asking specific questions this week.
Rachel?
Yes.
In regards to brand gating, one of the questions I got was whether they needed to be brand registered in order to get brand gated, which to me seems kind of obvious, but I think maybe we should just say that to be obvious.
You have to be brand registered first. You can't get brand gated unless you have a trademark.
Excellent. And there's some questions in here. Can you see those, or do you want me to read them to you?
Yep. A couple just popped in. One from Vivek. Is there a special format for filing infringement complaints at Amazon? Yes. The first and most important thing, you have to have something registered. So you have to have a registered trademark or registered copyright. And so there are exceptions to that. Like some people have been successful with using their hash. I think it's called a hash mark. It's like the number that get up in the file name in like Photoshop or whatever. And some people have been successful with that. You would just register your copyright. I mean, easy to register your copyright. So yeah, for copyright, it's harder to do. For trademarks, of course, you have to have a registered trademark to be able to file those. And then for patents, there's a whole separate form that you've got to fill out, but it's all through Brand Central, and they give you really clear instructions. So when the instructions are followed, we haven't had any problems with the new Brand Central. It used to be really hard to file successful complaints, and now at the new Brand Central, it's really looks like there's another one here from Hugh. Any advice on how to remove unauthorized sellers on a product and have trademarks and brand registry? Unauthorized sellers are a hard one because technically speaking, Amazon doesn't see that as a problem. If it's just someone who's not supposed to, as long as it's your product and it's a legitimate product, Amazon's okay, it looks like the video dropped as well as the mic. Can anyone hear me?
I hear you.
Just need a confirmation that folks can hear, and then I can answer the next question.
I can hear you.
Okay. All right. So as far as the getting people off, what I usually recommend is having a separate packaging for online, separate packaging for your online e-commerce sales, so that you can say that there's a material difference claim when someone's trying to sell something that went through a different channel. That way your product that you're selling online is not the same product that they're getting. And then that way you can show that it's a different product, that they're selling something that's materially different. Because if it's exactly the same product, everything is exactly the same, they're just not going to they're not going to listen to you. They don't care. And yeah, I'm sorry about the audio only, but the video is just not working. I think it's the airport Wi-Fi. Okay, the next question was, do I need a trademark to create a brand on Amazon? Yes. You have to have a trademark to create a brand with a capital B. You do not need a trademark to just put in a brand. I could call it
All right, this is Christina. Looks like we lost Rachel. She is going to go through the questions that have been posed in the chat, and she's going to answer them directly on Facebook. If for some reason you're not able to get those answers or you miss it, please feel free to reach us via email, info@thinkcascadia.com. We're so sorry, she's in the middle of traveling and the Wi-Fi is unreliable. So again, Rachel will answer your questions directly on Facebook. And if you miss anything or have additional questions, feel free to reach out to us directly via email, info@thinkcascadia.com. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll be back next week. Hope to see you then. Bye-bye.